Sorry about that. Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for the College Sports Huddle. How is everybody doing tonight? We're back for the first time in a few weeks as we've been traveling the high seas again and had a great weekend. But we welcome everybody here on the McGrath Podcast Network, as well as all the on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the groups that you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen that are so willing to. I'm trying to find my. Here we go. Close enough. Where was I? All the groups that are willing to share our show, and you guys get to see our fun content, hopefully, and enjoy it, and join us and comment at any time. We're on the College Sports Huddle. We're kind of migrating from football to basketball, which is really getting late in the season for us to start talking about it, but we're going to do that tonight. I want to thank again the groups that allow us to share. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime, Flo and Can over at Bottom Line Sports do a great job with their podcast. Make sure you like and follow their page. They do their main podcasting on Let's Talk Sports. Like and follow their page as well as McGrath's podcast network, by the way. Who else? Ken Krause over at Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts. And, of course, a quick shout-out to Ralph Williams over at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland, with a Pittsburgh focus and national football. But most specifically, the Sports Corner from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday with Smokin' Jim Frazier. I've been a ghost there. I've been a guest there many times and had a lot of fun. Guys, we'll get into, I guess we'll talk some college football a little bit. Maybe we'll look at the portal. I don't know. But we're going to start really focusing in on college basketball. As the season now is in full swing. Conference play is in full swing. We've only got, I want to say maybe a month to Selection Sunday. It feels like the season has really gone on a long time without us getting a chance to talk about it because of the need to talk so much college football. But college basketball is here, and things are heating up, and we're starting to see who the good teams are, who the favorites will be, and we'll talk a little bit about that and who we might want to look for some Cinderellas as well as we get closer and closer to Selection Sunday. And good evening to Rick Sherlock. Good to have you with us. And there is what's the current scene with the Running Rebels? Running Rebels of UNLV. Good question. Lost my screen. Since you asked, I will give you a quick update on the Running Rebels because we'll get into the conferences here in a little bit, but I don't want to just ignore Chris's comments. And I got a little announcement to make about Chris F. Grave up in Canada. Nothing bad, something very good in my mind. UNLV 7-6 in the Mountain West, 12-12 overall. Most likely not getting an NCAA bid without some kind of miracle run in the Mountain West tournament, as the Mountain West is pretty much dominated still by Utah State, San Diego State, and even New Mexico is up there at 9-4. So said Nevada. It's I say this all the time, Mountain West is a very, very underrated league, and we'll get into some of the conference chatter here in a little bit. Quick announcement. about Chris, and I want to, this really applies to all my shows. I haven't really ever had a really good opening. Mac McGrath had done a pretty good opening for the show when we were Northeast Streaming Sports and whatnot. TGI Sports Talk was still its own entity, but we were part of Northeast Streaming Sports, which became National Streaming Sports, which now has become the McGrath Podcast Network. And I've always wanted to do some openings for my show specifically. You'd see me, I ran the content basically to most of the shows that run on the McGrath Podcast Network now. That will be growing here soon, from what I understand. And I want to still share that type of information, as a midway point of the show, or at some point, end of the show. But I wanted my own intros, which I've never really put together. Didn't like the way introducing myself, right? Chris Fgrave, who's got a great voice for radio. I didn't say anything else, Chris, just a great voice for radio, has agreed to. I'm going to put the scripts together. I put one together for the Sunday. It's almost put together. I got to edit a little bit. Put together one for the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, but I'm going to do them for this show and for the Major League Baseball update and Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. And Chris has graciously agreed to do those intros, and we'll put something cool together to kind of introduce the show and myself and Jack when Jack's part of the show. So we'll have some fun with that. And Chris, I thank you for your offering to do that. So thank you for that. Men's college basketball, and we'll talk women too. If you guys have an interest in women, we'll look at the top 25 or at least the top 10 in women. Things are really starting to shape up as far as we've had pretty much the same top 10 here, pretty close. Illinois and Kansas have gotten back into the top 10 after falling out. Illinois fell a little bit this past week, but we've been at the top, pretty much the same teams. Arizona's done very, very well, undefeated still. One of only, I believe, two. I think Miami and Miami of Ohio, that is, and Arizona are still the only undefeated teams in the country. Miami's ranked down further, obviously playing in the MAC. So Arizona, now part of the Big 12, doing very, very well in a very tough conference. Michigan's been up there. Dusty May's done a great job there in the 2 years he's been at Michigan. They've been in the top spot or number two pretty much, the last several months anyway. Houston, Kelvin Sampson's got them back there again. Duke, pretty much, they've done a really good job bringing this program, getting it back to kind of the level where Coach K had it. I like what they've done there the last few years in rebuilding this, not rebuilding, but retooling this program after a year or two down. Iowa State was at number 2, their highest ranking ever. They're currently sitting at number 5. UConn will probably drop. Let's see. I think this was probably including their loss to St. John's this week. They fall to number 6. Nebraska's been just amazing in the Big Ten so far, without any kind of postseason or anything. This is Nebraska's best basketball season that in my lifetime, I can tell you, sitting at 21-2 right now. Illinois, as I said, Brad Underwood has done a great job since he went to Illinois. He's at 20-4. Had a loss this week, so they did, or last week, did fall to number 8. Kansas, who was really floundering a few weeks ago until they upset Iowa State and have been rolling since. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't they just beat Arizona? If I'm not mistaken, didn't they just beat Arizona here the other night? Let me check this out because I'm almost certain. Kansas is going to jump even further because if I'm not mistaken, they just beat Arizona. They did just beat Arizona 82-78. So we're going to have a new number 1, and Kansas is going to jump even further. Great job by Bill Self. Year after year, Bill Self does a great job with this Kansas Jayhawk team. Michigan State and Tom Izzo at 10, 20-4. North Carolina rebounding from some midseason struggles again with Hubert Davis, but they sit at 19-4. Gonzaga just doesn't go away. Mark Few, one of the most underrated coaches in the country. Gonzaga back at number 12 and leading a really good Western Athletic Conference, if I have that right, because St. Mary's is really good as well. Purdue at 19-4, Florida at 17-8, Virginia 20-3, rebounding from some down years there at Virginia, starting to bounce back after Coach Tony Bennett's retirement a few years ago. Texas Tech at 17-6, St. John's ranked much higher earlier in the year, had some struggles out of conference, playing really well right now, 18-5 overall. We'll look at the conference schedules or records here in a second. St. Louis 23-1 out of the A10, another underrated conference. Watch out for these guys from the Mountain West, from the A10, and even the Western Athletic Conference come tournament time. Be careful. Vanderbilt 19-4, struggled a little bit since a really hot start, but hanging in there at number 19. Clemson 20-4. Clemson always seems to get off to a good start and kind of fade. We'll see if that continues. Arkansas has fought their way back to 16-7 and ranked 21st. BYU has fallen a bit here recently, 17-6. Miami of Ohio, as I said, 24-0, but only ranked at number 23. Louisville, who just had a really big game the other night, 17-6, and Kentucky 17-7 rounds out the top 25. Falling out this week was Tennessee, and very close to getting back in is Alabama. Just a few points, 72 to 80 for Kentucky. Iowa is right there as well, and we're starting to see who the favorites are going to be come Christmas time. I guess you could look at the NCAA tournament as Christmas time. The Canadian Football League is currently overrun with American college football players. Interesting. And again, I know there's some changes being made up there to the Canadian Football League, and we'll take a look come draft time, maybe, Chris. And we can still talk, by the way, college football in the sense that we've got the draft coming here in 2 months to think about as well. So there will still be college football chatter, and we'll take a look at the guys who will end up in Canada because they're going to be guys that don't get drafted here. Am I wrong? Chris? And again, we'll pivot to football just for the second. Are we wrong that you're not getting anybody who's got a chance to play in the NFL? I mean, there were times where you had guys that were NFL caliber. Vince Ferragamo, Doug Flutie, and Ricky Williams played up there. But I don't think those guys are going up there now. Not sure. Let's just take a quick look at the women's, by the way, real quick, since we're talking about college basketball. And I always get accused of not giving the women their due. And since Danny, I don't know if Danny's with us tonight or not, but the UCLA women are ranked number 2 in the country behind UConn. No surprise, UConn 25-0, ranked number 1. UCLA is probably the biggest surprise, if it's a surprise, in the top teams in the country. South Carolina's right there again at number 3. Texas, Vanderbilt, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, LSU. I'm sorry, Louisville. I already said LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Louisville, Oklahoma. All in the top 10. As I look at the top 25 in the women, Princeton stands out as somebody who might be an outlier. But the real big stories are going to be, again, UConn and UCLA and South Carolina going into this tournament. Of course, LSU will be heard from. Baylor will be heard from. These are the perennial powers in women's college basketball. On the men's side, the surprises. Obviously, Miami's a huge surprise. 24-0 is 24-0. I don't care where you're playing. They're playing in the MAC. There's still some decent basketball being played in the MAC. Go watch a couple games. You'll see some good basketball. Is it on par with the SEC and the Big 12 and the Big 10 and Big East? No. ACC, sorry, didn't mean to leave you out. But there's some guys that are, Vanderbilt's a surprise as well. St. Louis is a bit of a surprise. And we'll look at bracketology. Let's take a quick look at the conferences, and then we'll go through bracketology and see where we stand now. We use Joe Lunardi's brackets, and then I kind of give my opinion on whether I think teams should be in or out based on that. You guys are certainly willing to you can bring up any stories you want. There's a couple big stories here regionally. Syracuse is, and I'm going to touch on that as we get into covering or reviewing the conference standings, if you will. Some of these I'm going to go through much faster than others, obviously. We do talk about the America East because we have a local team that for a while was in the mix with Will Brown and really hasn't caught on with Coach Killings. Not sure he's going to survive. How he survived this long with some of the things that have happened within that program, I'm not sure. But he's still there. They're 4-6 and 8-17 overall. Probably going to be the swan song for Coach Killings would be my guess. What else? Anyway, NGIT is leading there at 9-2. UMBC, who upset Virginia a couple years ago, or probably more than a couple years ago now, in the first round of the NCAA tournament, the only 16 ever to beat a 1. And Vermont perennially is up there doing well. The American Conference, surprisingly, South Florida doing very well, 8-3, 16-8 overall. Temple, who's been a bit of an Eastern basketball power for years, struggling a little bit, 7-3 in conference, 15-8 overall. Still, they've got some probing on some of the college basketball betting. Scandals is the only way to talk about them. No charges have come from the Temple deal like they have some from some other places. And as that story becomes bigger, we'll have to touch on it. Wichita State sits fourth there. Memphis and Penny Hardaway, 7-4, 12-11 overall. Penny could be hitting our coach's hot seat here in just a little bit when we review some of that. In the Sun Conference, the Atlantic Sun Conference, the Mad New Yorker, Carlos, will be happy to his Austin P Governors are sitting atop the league at 11-1, 17-6 overall. Central Arkansas 10-2, still putting some heat on them. That's going to be a one bid league. The American East a one bid lead. The American Conference, gosh, as I look through this quickly, they could get 3 bids. I'm looking at more like 2. We'll see what Lenardi says in just a little bit. The A10, we talked about St. Louis, 11-0 in conference, 2-game lead over VCU. Going to be tough to overcome. Of course, we have the conference tournament forthcoming as well. They set 23-1 overall. Just a great job being done there. George Mason at 9-3, 24-4. St. Joe's 7-5, 15-10. Dayton, who was a perennial favorite here the last decade or so, is middling at best here at 6-5 and 15-9. This is probably going to be a 2-bid league. Maybe they find a way to get 3. We'll see how that goes. The Atlantic Coast Conference, Duke, as I said, 11-1, doing very well, 22-2 overall. Clemson second, 10-1, 20-4. Virginia 10-2, 21-3. NC State, who just got creamed by Louisville the other night, by the way, sits in fourth, 18-7, 9-3. Miami 8-3, 19-5. Nice rebound after a tough season last year in Jim Larengay's final season. He did leave early in that season last year. Another guy chased out by the NIL and the new realities of college sports. Louisville 8-4, 18-6. North Carolina 7-4 in the conference, 19-5. They will be in the tournament. SMU sits at 6-5. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, maybe 8. I'm going to say 7 bids as I look at this right now for the ACC as we look at this before we get into bracketology. One of the bigger disappointments again here regionally, Syracuse 4-7 under Adrian Autry. Their overall record is a little bit better at 13-11, but this isn't getting done, and this isn't good enough at Syracuse. You know, Jim Boeheim struggled his last few years in the ACC. The ACC has never been a good fit for Syracuse. I feel like they lost their whole identity. I don't know if they have a way back to the Big East. I doubt it because football rules today. But if Syracuse could ever find their way back into the Big East, you would see this program potentially have the interest revived in it. And it would help their recruiting. And I don't even know how you're going to get a decent coach up there. They may try to lure Jerry McNamara back from Siena here at some point. Big 12, one of the best conferences. To me, the Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10, kind of neck and neck. Arizona leads there at 10-1. Houston's tied with them 10-1. Both of them are ranked in the top 3 in the country. Kansas is going to move up, as we said. They beat Arizona this week. They're 9-2. Iowa State 8-3. Texas Tech 7-3. BYU 6-5 in a conference, but 18-6 overall. They're going to get in. I'm not a big fan, as you know from watching my shows, of teams under 500 in their conference or well under 500 getting in this NCAA tournament. It's going to happen again. UCF 17-6, 6-5 overall. Probably has saved Johnny Dawkins' job. He was on a serious hot seat when the season started. This should be good enough. Don't think it's going to be good enough to get him in the tournament. Maybe it will. Jamie Dixon at TCU might be on that hot seat. He's only 5-6 in the conference, 15-9 overall. I don't see them getting a team under 500 unless it's TCU in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 bids for the Big 12. Big East, St. John's ties for first place after beating UConn this weekend. I believe it was on Sunday. Maybe that game was Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. St. John's 12-1. So is UConn. Villanova, another guy, Kevin Neptune, was in a lot of trouble coming into the season. Likely has saved his job. He's 10-3, 19-5, headed to the dance. Creighton 7-6, 13-11, probably not going. Seton Hall, to get to 500, do well, win a couple games in a tournament, maybe they'll get in. They're 16-8 overall. Georgetown, not a good season again under Ed Cooley, 5-8 in the conference. Xavier struggling under Richard Pitino, 4-9 in conference. You're looking at 3 bids out of the Big East. That's it, 3 bids. Big Sky, 1 bid conference. Portland State leading there. It's going to come down to the tournament if they weren't to get in. Big South, Winthrop and High Point, who's become a bit of a small school power, if you will, recently in recent years. Winthrop and High Point tied at 10-1 there, running away from the rest of the conference. The Big Ten also very good. They're going to get a ton of bids here. Michigan and Dusty May, as I said, has done a wonderful job. They're probably going back to number 1, assuming they don't lose the rest of this week. Back on an 8-game winning streak. Illinois 11-3, Purdue 10-3, Nebraska, that very surprising 10-3 in conference, 21-3 overall. Michigan State 10-3, Wisconsin, UCLA, Iowa, Indiana sit at 8-6, 17-8 overall. All probably going to the dance. And then you might have USC on the bubble. You might have Ohio State on the bubble. And that's probably it. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with a possible 10 for the Big Ten. That would be all the conferences. That would be all the teams if this was actually the Big Ten, not the Big 18. Big West is going to be a 1-bid conference. So Hawaii and Cal Irvine are tied at 9-3, and Cal Santa Barbara sits just behind them at 9-4. Coastal Athletic 1-bid conference. UC Wilmington, Charlotte vying for the top spot in the regular season there. Liberty leads the Conference USA 12-0, 4-game lead over Jackson State. Again, no sure thing unless they win their conference tournament. I really think the regular season's got to start counting for more in college basketball. Horizon League, one bid league. Wright State leads Oakland by just a game. Ivy League also obviously a one bid league. That'll come down to Harvard and Yale, I think, although you could see Penn or even Cornell make a run in the tournament here. The Metro Atlantic, Siena sitting at local flavor. Siena sitting at 10-4, 17-8. You know, Siena fans, you got a nice rebound season here. Jerry McNamara's second season. I think this team is going to be tough in the Metro Atlantic postseason tournament. If Siena were to win this, they'd get to the NCAA tournament, and that might be your only shot with Jerry Maguire. I think Jerry McGuire was a fictional agent. I think Jerry McNamara is probably going to be considered for the next coach at Syracuse, because I don't think Autry's making it through this year, or into next year, I should say. Anyway, with the Metro Atlantic, Merrimack sits at 12-2. St. Peter's is at 11-3. Siena at 10-4. Marist 10-5. Quinnipiac 10-5. A lot of parity in this league. I mean, even Fairfield at 8-7. This is going to be an exciting tournament, and it's a one bid league. And we've talked this much about the Metro Atlantic only because of the local interest here in the Siena Saints. And I hope to go to a game next week. I think we're going to go see Siena play. Not sure who they're playing that night. We're gone. Mid-American Conference, as I said, Miami of Ohio, 24-0, 11-0 in conference, but only a game ahead of Akron. It's going to be a one-bid conference. So they're not getting two bids out of here. So Miami is going to have to win their postseason. I take that back. If Miami were to lose the postseason conference, which is one of the reasons I don't like the way this is set up, it's good for the league to get two teams in. They make money. Miami's getting in whether they win the conference tournament or not, I would say, especially if they're undefeated. But it would be in a better interest for the league if they lost the tournament. Right? I mean, we can't have this type of stuff hanging over our heads, especially the way things are now in the world of college sports with all the shroud of gambling scandals. But you leave it open to make it, worthwhile for them to not make it to their own conference or win their own conference. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I'm trying to do something here with my screen, so bear with me. That's too big. And we'll worry about it later. Anyway, that's where you stand in the Mid-American. Down to Mid-Eastern, one bid league. Morgan State's likely to get in there. Missouri Valley, Belmont, Murray State, Bradley, all fighting it out there. It's going to come down to whoever wins the conference tournament. Mountain West, I think they get a few bids. I said earlier, we talked about this when Chris asked about UNLV. Utah State, San Diego State, separated by a game at the top. Not a surprise there. New Mexico playing very, very well. They'll make the tournament, I believe, if the bottom doesn't fall out. I also think Nevada gets in. And even Grand Canyon, a new entry into the Mountain West, has played really well, 8-4 in their inaugural season, 15-8 overall. I see 4 bids coming out of this league. And we'll look at that again here in a second. Northeast Conference, one bid league, Long Island. Ow, Jesus. God, I really did. It's a number on my thumb. If I didn't tell you guys, when we got back from vacation, after it had been like -10, half the nights my car sat in the airport garage, which is open. It's got a roof, but it's open. Car was deader than a doornail. My son-in-law had to come and jump us, and somewhere along the line, I pinched my thumb, either in the hood or with the bags. I don't know where, and I am going to lose a nail probably. And I thought it was infected, but that seems to have drained, and we seem to be better. So anyway, you didn't need that story, but there you have it. Anyway, LIU running away right now with the Northeast Conference. Again, they'll need to win their conference tournament. Same way with the Ohio Valley, UT Barton, Southeast Missouri State, and Tennessee State all vying for the top spot there. Patriot League, Navy, 12-1, 20-6 overall. Nice season right now for the Navy midshipmen. They play their football elsewhere because the Patriot League does not have a Division I football. But Colgate is a team to keep an eye on there as well. Southeastern Conference, Florida. The SEC, I don't think is as good as the Big 12 or the Big 10, but they're going to have a bunch of teams in the tournament, guys. Florida leads the conference 8-2, but it's close. 8-3 with Kentucky, 8-3 for Arkansas, 7-3 for A&M. Vanderbilt 7-4, Tennessee 6-4, Alabama 6-4, Missouri 6-4, Texas 6-5, but Georgia 17-6 overall, 5-5 in the conference. Auburn's probably played themselves out in Bruce Pearl's first year without Bruce Pearl in a long time, and his son taking over. Things aren't going well in that transition. But you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 bids. Maybe 10 bids out of the Southeastern Conference. Southern Conference, 1 bid league. East Tennessee State just by a game over Wolford right now. Southern Conference, Stephen F. Austin, McNeese State. The state's gone, and it's going to be a 1 bid league. So is a SWAC with Bethune-Cookman with a 2-game lead over Arkansas. Pine Bluff, Summit League, North Dakota State, and we'll look at these conference tournaments when we get closer. Sunbelt, going to be a 1 bid league, I'm sure. App State and Troy battling it out. 9-3 for Troy, 9-4 for App State. Always upsets in these conferences, those guys. West Coast Conference, that was close. West Coast Conference, Gonzaga rebounding to 24-2. Mark Few, underrated. 12-1 for Gonzaga in the league. Santa Clara actually tied with them at first. St. Mary's at 10-2. This is going to be a 3 big lead this year, I think. Santa Clara gets in, as well as St. Mary's, and of course Gonzaga. Western Athletic Conference, which I mistook for Gonzaga's conference. I do this all the time. There's only 7 teams left in this league, by the way, and California Baptist and Utah Valley are leading the way there. So that's where we stand in conference play. Bracketology, let's look at what Lenardi's got right now. We're not going to look at the entire bracket. We'll look at the bubble. And we'll look at the teams that he has per conference as kind of against what I just came up with. Last 4 buys: Georgia, St. Mary's, UCLA, and USC, who I kind of had on the bubble in the Big Ten, so he's got them in. Last 4 in, which means they'll be playing in the first 4: Texas, Miami. Man, that's tough. I don't know which Miami that is, quite frankly. That's got to be Miami Hurricanes. San Diego State and New Mexico. First 4 out: Ohio State, I did not have them in. Missouri didn't have them in. Cal didn't have them in. Virginia Tech didn't have them in. The fact that we're even talking about these teams is very interesting, by the way. Oklahoma State, VCU, Seton Hall, and Tulsa would be the next 4 out. So let's see where he's got the conferences. The Big Ten, he's got at 10. That's where I had them. The SEC, he's got at 10. That's where I had them. ACC with 8. I think I had him with 7. Big 12 only with 7 bids. Interesting. Big 12 the West Coast with 3, which is what I said. Mountain West with 3. I might have said 4, and the Big East with 3, and the rest will be all 1 bid league. So that's kind of where we stand right now. His number 1 overall seeds, Arizona would be number 1. Let's see who else he has number 1 seeds. He's got Arizona and Michigan with number 1 seeds. No brainers there, really. UConn and Duke. So no big surprises there. But who are the Cinderella guys here? Who are the teams to keep a watch on? I mean, we know who the favorites are right now, right? But who could be Cinderellas here? Let me find my notes. Can't find my notes. I did have some notes on some Cinderellas, and they're escaping me here. Here's one. Stephen F. Austin is, I think, a 12-5 potential upset if they were to get the right kind of bids. Let me go somewhere else. This is not what I was kind of looking at. So, I want to give you a couple of really dark horses that I really like here. Let me go back to the Bracktolagy, and I can pick them out from here. By the way, Lenardi's got Auburn in. I don't know how. I really don't. A couple teams to watch out for. Texas A&M, dangerous team. I think they're going to be seated around 7 or 8. St. John's at 5. It depends on where you think your Cinderella should be, right? If you want real Cinderellas, we got to dig a little deeper. Maybe South Florida to keep an eye on at 12. And Austin Peay, maybe first round upsets. I'll be at 15. Trying to look at some of the higher seeds that I think might have a shot. Again, Stephen F. Austin at 12, I think will have a shot. Teams that are kind of more mid-range, watch out for Iowa. Fran McCaffrey gone, new coaching staff, new culture. Fran McCaffrey's a real good coach, but they couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't win the NCAA tournament. They couldn't win the Big Ten tournament. Keep an eye on that team. St. Louis, I think, is a team to watch. They're going to be way underseeded, I would think. And then some dark horses of teams that maybe aren't having quite the years that we had, but maybe can turn it on come tournament time. I'd watch out for John Calipari in Arkansas, going to be in that 5, 6, 7 range. Watch out for them. Watch out for Kentucky. Mark Pope's team not having the type of year that they had last season. Watch out for them. I'm going to say Danny wouldn't agree with me, but watch out for UCLA as a 10. 9, 10, somewhere around that mark. And I do like St. John's. After last year's disappointments, not even getting to the Final 8, got upset by Arkansas. Just watch out for them as we go forward here. I think this could be the year Pitino's team gets it together late in the season. And I agree with you, Chris. You can't beat the enthusiasm on a college campus on any sports, but college basketball, they're really good. Now, one thing you got to be careful of, and we had an instance of this week. I don't know if I still have the story up, but there was assistant coach. Damn! Ow! God, freaking thumb. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to startle you with my pain. There was an assistant coach, and now I can't find the story. Oh, Duke staffer, yeah. So after Duke got beat by North Carolina here Saturday night, John Shire's assistant. I'm looking for his name here because I lost it. Where is it? We don't have the name. We didn't give the name. Anyway, he was trampled in a court storming. We don't need to storm the court like we never won a game before. You're in North Carolina. You got national championships. You got a gazillion trips to the Final Four. You beat Duke. I know they're your longtime rival, but is that really storming the court worthy? And they have been reprimanded and I believe fined by the ACC. Don't do that. Show your enthusiasm, but don't storm the court. People get hurt. What else is going on here in the world of college basketball? Anything else we need to talk about? I want to talk about coaches on the hot seat, potentially. A couple guys to keep an eye on. And some of them, it's really too bad. Maybe not LSU's Matt McMahon, but they might make the tournament. Not likely out of the SEC. Probably going to get fired. Penny Hardaway could be in trouble. Penny Hardaway's team went on a great roll last year. Didn't really set it on fire in the tournament. And this year they're struggling and probably are going to miss the tournament unless they win the conference championship there in the American, the tournament. Don't know. Oklahoma, Porter Moser, who had a great run at Loyola Chicago before he hit the big time here at Oklahoma. He's really struggled. He's got one NCAA tournament appearance at Oklahoma. He's 85-68 overall. They're not doing very well again this year, and it looks like they're going to, fade away. They got off to a 13-0 start, but, right now they're sitting at where are they sitting? Where are they playing? Playing the SEC. Sometimes I forget where these teams play, guys, because everybody keeps moving around. Oklahoma got off to not a 13-0 start. Sorry, that was last year. They're only 12-12, 2-9 in conference, and Porter Moser's probably not going to survive that experience. That'd be my guess. Jeff Capel, who's been on this bubble a few times in the last few years, he's only a couple games over 500 for his career. Struggling again this year at Pittsburgh, and most likely not going to survive into next year would be my guess. And we talk about these things. Again, these guys, does it seem like a big deal when a guy gets fired? No, but the assistant coaches who are not making millions of dollars like these head coaches are, they got families and everything else too, and it uproots them, and they got to move. If they find a job, they've got to move across the country in a lot of cases, and not a good situation for sure. But Pittsburgh sits at 2-10, 9-16 overall, and that's not a good sign. Jeff Capel's probably going to lose his job there. Steve Pickle at Rutgers. Rutgers had a really good run for a while, but the last couple of years have been ugly in Piscataway, and I think you're going to see them not survive, this next coming off season, if you will. Where is the Big Ten here? What's his record? Help me out. There he is. Rutgers sitting at 2-11, 9-15. Not gonna cut it. And Rutgers has done very well in the Big Ten in prior years. They had a great year, the COVID year in 2020. Didn't get a chance to play in the Big Ten tournament or obviously in the NCAA tournament that year. Big shame, but now they're going to be moving on. Adrian Autry, I mentioned, barely over 500. Not good enough. He hasn't made the NCAA tournament. I think you're going to see them moving on, and I would keep an eye on Jerry McNamara out of Siena, maybe as the next head coach there. Steve Forbes at Wake Forest also in trouble, along with other coaches, but these are a couple of guys that stand out as being in trouble. Chris says, under the umbrella of youth and college sports, have you noticed the amount of teenagers in the Olympics? Quite frankly, I haven't seen any part of the Olympics. I was away when it got started on a week ago, I guess last Friday. I saw Lindsey Vaughn's crash because I'd heard about it, and I went and made sure I went and watched it. I saw a little bit of the women's hockey the other day against Canada. I'll try to get more into it as I go, but I really haven't. I don't get into. I like the downhill racing, skiing. I like the hockey, but I can't watch hours and hours of curling, quite frankly. And again, it's amateur. Well, theoretically, it's amateur sports, right? So we can loosely call these guys amateurs, I guess. Still, as much as we can call college athletes amateurs, I guess we can call Olympians amateurs. But we got professional hockey players playing. But I'll get interested in the men's hockey, and I'll get interested in the women's hockey. But I can't watch hours and hours of curling. Just have a lot of trouble with that. Roger called and said, "Suck it up, Cupcake." Lindsey Vaughn? Who? Roger. I had to take a double look. My cat was sitting very still. I got a little concerned. We've had some health issues recently. That she's coming through okay. I mean, she's not going to get a lot better, but she's not getting worse. She's 17 years old. My cats live forever. This sounds like a Sunday stream of consciousness, but cats live forever. My cats do. I had a 23-year-old who passed, maybe 5 years ago. And then I had a 17-year-old who passed maybe a year, might have been 2 years later. And I've got the last of the Mohegans here. She's now 17, so she's working on it. Well, I know Roger. Oh, my thumb. Rub some dirt on it, Keith, and shut up. That's what I would get. I'll tell you a funny story. We're taking infield practice one time in Galway. And I never wore a cup. I couldn't wear a cup. I just couldn't. And we had the worst. And Galway was, our big rival in our division, and in the Tri-Valley League, one of the big rivals we had, along with Fort Plain. We just had an horrible infield. We were kicking the ball around everywhere. Outfielders throwing the balls away, and I get hit right in the nuts. I'm sorry, excuse my language. On a ground ball that he hits, and I'm laying there in agony, and he tosses the fungo and says, "F it, get the F off the field. We'll just lose the game." I've had it. We won the game. I did lay there for about 15 minutes. Oh. I have not heard much on Gunner Rivers so far. Let's take a quick look, though. That's a good question. I think Gunner's still got a year. I think he's got a year of high school left, doesn't he? Class of 2027. The last I'd heard, is there any different schools in here? NC State, Auburn, Georgia, Miami Hurricanes, and South Carolina are the teams with offers out to Gunner so far. During his sophomore season, he's got 2 years to go yet, by the way. He completed 237 out of 343 passes for 3,176 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's a pocket passer, known for timing and anticipation. We'll see how that goes. Hello, AC. Good to have you with us. Good to have you with us. Listen, I'd love to see Gunner Rivers make it to South Florida, meaning Miami, not South Florida. AC, good to have you with us. I don't know where you're at this week. I know you've been doing a lot of traveling for entertainment purposes or making money purposes. He was up in my neck of the woods. I know he was, while we were away, he sent me a picture that he was at I believe it was a fast food restaurant on Route 9, not even probably a mile, maybe 2 miles from where we live, on his way to Lake George, if I remember. So I hope I'm not telling stories out of school, AC. But that was kind of interesting. What is there? Do we have any? I went through the hot seat news. Any college football news we need to talk about? Big Ten Athlete Commission urges NCAA to push to eliminate college prop bets. Smartest thing anybody could ever do, by the way. Eliminate college prop bets. AC, don't know what your thoughts are on this. I know you're a gambler. You and I disagree on some things. But I guess I'm not on the prop bets, but 100% on him traveling for entertainment and money-making purposes. The prop bets are what really is becoming a problem in college sports and professional sports. I mean, when you see this latest scandal that came down, it wasn't about, well, one of them, I guess, was about point shaving and keeping the scores down. But more often you're seeing guys who are being asked to underperform so guys can wager a certain way. And they could possibly do that without affecting the score of the game. It affects the game no matter how you look at it. But the prop bets are the easiest thing to fix. You need one guy. In professional baseball, we'll just touch on this quickly. The whole deal with Class A, and the other Indian pitcher got suspended. They were betting on individual pitches. You have to eliminate prop bets and individual performance wagering, or you're going to be strife wide open for all this type of activity to continue. Just saying. Atlantic City was profitable. Where were you playing? Lake George when you were up this way? I think KC posted a nice shot from Atlantic City the other night. AC and AC. Nice. Hope you're doing well. Rick was at Turning Stone last weekend for the Super Bowl. Thought he might see you up there. I think AC was in Atlantic City for the Super Bowl. Well, maybe not for the Super Bowl. For I'm sure he got to see it someplace fun. Prop bets are crazy, and there's really no need for them. I agree 100%. It got so popular because of online betting, and that isn't going away, but that's where the corruption is. 100%. You know, you could rarely get a prop bet from a bookie. Listen, I've gambled for a long time on sports. I know AC is not sports betting quite as often as he had in the past. We've had that discussion on our shows. But you could get a prop bet from a freaking bookie. You might throw one out there once in a while as a teaser, right? But no freaking guy was giving you a prop bet on a coin flip of the freaking Super Bowl. You know, or whether, or whether Cooper Flag was going to score, 100 points in the ACC tournament or not. And again, this is where the corruption hits. It's easy. Simple. Not multiple people involved. You only got to get to one guy. You saw it in the NBA, too. We've had several issues with that. Guys would just go out hurt. AC wants to meet up with Rick at Turning Stone. I go up to Rivers now and again. I haven't been there in a while. I'm going to make a sports bet once in a while. If I don't have a lot of reason when you got, DraftKings or whatever. But once in a while, I'll go in there. I wanted to play some poker on the cruise ship. AC, but you can't play real poker. And they were playing some version of freaking Hold'em where I couldn't even figure out who was playing against who because the dealer was playing, the players were playing, and it was just too freaking, too confusing. This is the worst ship I've been on for gambling, quite frankly. I mean, they had about 2 blackjack tables, which again, they don't pay crap, so there's no sense of playing. The crap table was barely ever open. So anyway, Rick's going to be at Rivers on Saturday. I'll be at the Pepsi. What do we call it? MVP? I don't know what we call it these days. I'll be there for Eric Church concert. And we'll be out to dinner somewhere before, I don't know where. We don't have a reservation, so we probably got to go about 2 o'clock in the afternoon for dinner. Go home, take a nap, and then go to the conference. Trip to Lake George was just for some fun. I thought you were telling me, oh, that's right. I thought you were telling me you were playing in a poker tournament up there, which didn't make a lot of sense. But you did show pictures from Duffy's, one of my favorite stops up there, by the way. Often get lunch out there, outside by the lake in the summertime. And really nice, fun stop. So love Duffy's. Give Duffy's a little extra play today. We're probably going to be off here in about 3 minutes, unless you guys got more you want to talk about. I'm happy to stay. But with the college basketball and college football winding down a little bit, we'll be talking about the draft in coming weeks, obviously, and we'll be talking about college basketball as we roll up. AC, if you just joined us late, I went through some of the bracketology and conferences, and I probably won't do that each and every week. We'll look more at the bracketology. Well, we've got 4 weeks till Selection Sunday, so things will get interesting there. We've got 2 months until the NFL draft, so all those guys are still relevant as far as college football talk in my mind. So we'll have those conversations. Very weak draft this year in my mind. Where am I going? Where are you going? Going to Johnny's after Rivers' wife's birthday. I would like to, but where am I going? Oh, to Rivers? I'm sorry, to hook up with the Turning Stone sometime. Let me know. We could probably make it work. As long as I get my wife dinner, get a room out there, maybe stay out the night, but you can see what happens. See how the dates go. I assume that's what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about Rivers this Saturday. I can't make it this Saturday. I've got, again, Valentine's Day, that Hallmark holiday. Not a big fan. My wife, fortunately, my wife's not either. I mean, we don't get a lot. We don't do a lot of extravagant stuff. We won't even go out to a big dinner. We'll just have a quiet meal somewhere, and then we're going to head to the Eric Church show at the MVP. So Keith can't come. Not this time, but it'll be fun to hook up at some point. And Rick, I want to get lunch. I'll talk to you on phone. Maybe next. Got 2 days. Maybe next week. One day. I don't know. If you're free one day next week. I got my dad's birthday. We got to get to. It's on Tuesday, which I don't think we can see him. My wife's tied up with a bunch of stuff, so we'll probably do it Monday or Wednesday. But maybe we can get lunch one other day next week. If not, maybe the following week we can grab some lunch. Your choice, but I'll drive to Amsterdam if you want. I'll meet you halfway. So I'm gonna meet you in Schenectady somewhere if you want, or wherever you want to go. Doesn't matter to me. We'll figure that out here soon too, because I know we've been talking about it, and I was sick, and then blah blah blah. Always something. I either try, and by the way, I've come back, and I'm back now 2 days. No sickness. I was sick before we went. But got healthier as the trip went on. So really happy to do that. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up, I guess, tonight. I appreciate you guys coming. Look forward here in the coming weeks to the new promos of the show. Chris F. thank you for volunteering to voice those. Chris has got some amazing voices. We got to pick out the right one for the promos. I think we'll do one. I was thinking about, Chris, whether we should switch them up, but I think we need to sell you, because you, by the way, you should be doing voiceover work, Chris. And what I want to do is pick the best voice for not only the intros for the shows, but for you to get some, maybe some added, not to get a lot of exposure on these shows, but get you some exposure. You should be doing voiceover work, my friend. And listen for those new promos coming up. And promos, I don't know. We'll talk about promos and intros. I don't know how much free work I can get out of Chris, but I'll get as much as he's willing to give me. So we'll go from there. Guys, great talking to you. Enjoy your Wednesday night. Got to go up and catch up on some Jeopardies, and The Lincoln Lawyer is out. So make sure you check that out if you're a fan. But we'll see you guys. It's been a fun show, but Huddle. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Friday with Jack. And also with the MLB update on Friday afternoon. Bye-bye.